What's going on, world? It's your main man, Kareem A. Rashid, the voice and your host of Clearing the Wreckage podcast. Yes, indeed. We got another great episode for you today. Listen, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're driving to work. If you are, pay attention to the road. And I don't know if you're on the toilet. But I tell you what, don't forget to flush. Yes. Oh, so glad you're here with me today. So glad you're here with me today. Let's rock and roll, folks. Let's rock and roll. What's going on? What's new? What's new? I'll tell you what's new with me. Today is Sunday as I'm recording this episode that is supposed to be uploaded tomorrow. Yes, I'm last minute, but you know what? We gonna go ahead and do it. We're going to do it for you. And what's new with me is, and the only reason I'm shouting this out is to credit my higher power, to credit my mentor, to credit the other people that are now in my life and the fellowship, and to credit just the program of recovery that I am involved in. But 9 years I celebrated yesterday, folks. 9 years of recovery and being free from drugs and alcohol. And in those years, it's been nothing but clearing the wreckage. For reals. So that's why, I'm able to come on here and just share with you how and I've been clearing the wreckage in my life. And the wreckage has to get cleared every day, folks. This is not just, a look to the past to clear the wreckage. One time. We got to clear it out every single day, because wreckage and the clutter and the havoc starts, I know for me, right here up in my noggin. You know what I'm saying? In my noggin. So anyway, episode 8, what's it going to be about today, Kareem? Well, I'm going to talk to you guys today about how I discovered the value of me having a mentor. Y'all like my funny voice? Well, most of y'all, if you're looking at me, you're like, well, you got a funny face, but I don't know about your voice. Anyway, with that being said, I found so much value in having a mentor. And so let me just phrase this way. This guy did not necessarily know that he was my mentor. I mean, I didn't necessarily say to him, yep, you're my mentor. You're it. Tag, you're it. I didn't necessarily say those specific words or gave him that specific title, but in my heart of hearts and in my mind, that's who he was to me. Does that make sense? So there's value in having a mentor. And again, this is my show, my story. So I'm going to share from first person experience. I can't share from your experience because I don't know you. So I can only share from first person experience and why it was important and why it was so valuable for me having a mentor. The first reason and the first key that I believe was because he was someone that I could trust. Now, when we had lunch together, I've already shared this in the episode with you before, so I'm not going to go over it again. But when we had lunch together, he shared his story with me. That began to open up a little lid, you know what I'm saying, of, I can trust this guy. So let me give you a little background about me. The older men that were in my life when I was a kid, Oh man, I really don't want to, but this is wreckage from my past, so I will share it. The older men when I was a kid that were in my life were not necessarily there. Let's just say that, and when I say there, I mean like present. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about physically. All right? So I hope you just understood that, and I'm just going to leave it at that. With that being said, I really didn't trust. In actuality, I was afraid. I was afraid that I was going to be abandoned by most older men. So having this gentleman in my life was very valuable to me. It was a lesson. It was a lesson for sure. For me to learn that I can actually trust this man. And the reason I could trust him is because he was vulnerable with me. He sat down with me at lunch and he shared his story with me. And then not only that, he was someone that I admired. Because I'm listening to this guy. He's sharing the story with me and I'm like, wow. Not only do I get to hear him share his story, I get to see his story lived. So I get to not just have lunch with him, but I get to call him. I get to talk to him every day. I get to go to the movies with him, have dinner with him. Our relationship bonded. We took off from there. After that lunch, I was able to trust him because of his vulnerability with me. So because he was so vulnerable, it's a tongue twister, you can say it fast. Because he was so vulnerable with me, I was able to be that way with him. Can you believe it? Like when you're talking to a kid or a child, you go down to their level. You stoop down or you kneel down and you meet them at their height. And you give them eye contact. And you speak to them that way. That's actually the right way to speak to a kid. And that is what he did with me. Here's this guy. He's got multiple years of sobriety. I got about 1, 2, 3 days maybe of trying to stay clean and sober. He met me at my level. He said, let me tell you a story. Man, I was just like you. And little did I know that he was going to tell me a story that was identical to mine. I did not know that, but he told me a story that was completely identical to mine, as if he had walked lifetimes with me before as I was using and drinking drinking alcohol and drugs. He shared the story with me as if he knew what I was doing. That opened up a gateway of trust, folks. Then he was someone that I admired simply because, as I just stated, I was able to see his life in action. So not only did he talk the talk, he walked the walk, folks. He called me when he was tempted to drink. He called me. Little old me who's got 1, 2, 3 days of sobriety. He's got multiple years calling me, hey, Kareem, man, dude, man, I thought about drinking today, man. It's like, what? I admired that. I admired that humility. I admired that heart. I admired his spirit. He was someone I wanted to be like. He was very generous. I told you that he purchased a hotel room. I didn't tell you for how long. He purchased a hotel room for months on end for me and the young lady I was with at that time. I ended up escaping and going to stay with my mom, but she was able to stay there scot-free under his generosity. I wanted to be like that. I saw how he helped out other people. I wanted that heart. I wanted that character. I wanted that spirit. I was just this useless, self-centered prick wrecking up every relationship who didn't know how to do anything except take. I didn't know how to give anything to anybody, but he did. I wanted that. So my mentor was someone that I could trust, and then he was someone that I could admire. And that made me having a mentor very valuable. Why did it make it valuable? Because through his life, I was invited into his life. I was invited into his walk of life, onto his journey. And through that, I was able to see an authentic example, an authentic, transparent man that is just like me, trying to stay sober and clean one day at a time, and he is doing it. I don't know how he's doing it, but I can see how he's doing it now because I'm with him. I'm at the movies with him. I'm at lunch with him. I'm at dinner with him. I'm around his family. I'm around his kids. I'm in this man's life. He welcomed me into his life. I became family. Later on in life, I was the best man at his wedding. He got remarried. Remember I told you how in his story, his wife divorced him because of his wreckage, because of his alcoholism, because of his addiction. And not just because of his addiction and alcoholism, because of the character that was displayed throughout his alcoholism. The low living, the self-serving, self-centered guy that he was, the liar he became, the thief he became, the facade he became. He was no longer him to her. This isn't a person I married. So she divorced him. Same in relation to my mother and me when my mother kicked me out. This isn't my son. My son isn't like this. What spirit is upon him that's got him acting like this? You catch my drift? So through that relation, I related to him. He tells me that story. Then I'm like, well, dang, the same thing happened. My mom divorced me, basically. Wow. And seeing him later in life find a woman, I should say, not a girl, and then get remarried and me be standing up there with him as his best man. What a joy, what a blessing, what an honor. What an honor. So what made him valuable to me is that I wasn't just part of his life. I was his life. I was his life. And so let me just tell you this. So I hope that you get from this episode, I just share my story with you. Maybe that you can take something in this story and it relates to maybe you having a mentor or finding a mentor. Listen, this is about clearing the wreckage out of our lives. This is about clearing the wreckage, that anything that holds us back from growth, anything that stops us from personal transformation as a human, developing in more maturity and growing in our thinking. The wreckage for me, I know, starts up here in my noggin, like I just shared with you earlier. There's all types of wreckage up there. There's negative self-talk. There's, I got an ego the size of Russia. I think I'm better than everybody. You know what I'm saying? If you're dealing with that, then a mentor can help you deflate your ego. And how did he help me stay clean and sober? So he was valuable to me as a mentor, and he helped me stay clean and sober because, and I just shared this with you, but I just want to make sure you get it. He invited me into his life. I saw a walking miracle, a walking example of, oh my goodness. And he's happy and he's full of joy without drinking? How? But I was able to see how. He wasn't a person that just told me, well, this is my story and this is how I did it, and then left me by the wayside. That's not what he did. He said, this is my story. This is how I did it. Now come along with me and be part of my life. And with that, I was able to see a shining light, a shining example. So my mentor, to me, the value in him was because he was an example. He was a clear example. If I needed to know how to stay clean and sober, I saw it right there. I saw it. And let me tell you, that was so valuable because, oh my gosh, I had someone I could just listen to. I could just follow. That's how he guided me. He didn't necessarily give me so much instruction on this is how to stay clean and sober. He guided me through his life. That, to me, is what a mentor looks like, what a mentor should be, and that is the value in having a mentor. So if there is someone in your life that has surpassed the wreckage in their life, let's give an example of wreckage. I don't know what wreckage you have going on in your life. Your wreckage could be, staying in toxic relationships. And there's somebody that in your life that has surpassed that has learned that, no, they're toxic for me. I am not getting into a relationship with that much toxicity anymore. My self-worth has grown enough to where I don't need that in my life. They've cleared the wreckage. If you see that in somebody, latch on to them because you're still struggling. You still have low self-worth. You still, I can't leave this person. They're so, you can't see the toxicity yet. So you need to see that example in that friend or that person and latch on to it. I don't know what else it could be. I mean, it could be depression. It could be anxiety. It could be, and yes, I'm saying depression and anxiety as wreckage. Yes, I am. Yes. Because if it has us stuck and we can't get over it and we can't, move forward, then it's wreckage and it needs to be cleared. Now, you will find that I am someone that has dealt with depression. I will share about that in a later episode, but we got a while to go for that. I'll share about anxiety with you too. If you're a person that talks negatively to themselves and you don't affirm yourself in a positive manner, and you have a friend that used to do that and now has overcome it, walk with them. Be led, be guided by their example. If you have a person that used to be just, egotistic, arrogant, and you see now nothing but humility, walk with them. Latch on to them because they have learned how to clear the wreckage and they probably still are clearing the wreckage. Don't get it twisted. We're human. So the people that have overcome these things are still overcoming them. They're still being triumphant. So anyway, that is the importance, the value of having a mentor. That is why I had one. And man, it kept me on the right course and staying the course. So until next time, take some time to look inside so that the wreckage can begin to clear. Yes,